Welcome to VPI Documentaries, a video series as part of the Federal Highway Administration's Everyday Counts virtual public involvement program. This video features Idaho Transportation Department's Drive Idaho podcast.
My name is Vincent Trimbley. I am the Chief Communication Officer for the Idaho Transportation Board and for the Idaho Transportation Department. We developed a website for our projects, and within that website, we built in modules that could host online public meetings. And essentially what that is providing the public with specific focused project information that they can easily click through, including videos, project maps, statements like the purpose and need, essentially giving them all the information about the project that they can click through. And then at the end, they could also give comments. But with every meeting now, the Office of Communication at the Idaho Transportation Department has a policy that every in-person public meeting will have some sort of an online or a virtual component to go with it. We're up to 3 years worth of episodes now in the Drive Idaho podcast. We've done about 36, and we use it a lot to talk about ITD's core mission, which is talking about safety. Another part of our mission is mobility. So we talk about different projects around the state that are going to reduce congestion and increase mobility for Idahoans. And then the third part of our mission is economic opportunity. So in some of our episodes on the podcast, we've actually talked to local businesses where the roadway in their area is going to create better economic opportunity for them. But we also talk a lot about our different services that we offer the public. We've had episodes on our division of motor vehicles, and some episodes have been totally about DMV, but others have talked about DMV programs. So we can use a little section of the podcast to hit on something that might be newsworthy or important. The idea behind the podcast is not that we get 1 million listeners, it's that we get quality listeners who then become strong word of mouth agents, so to speak, for us, that when they're out in the community, they actually have a lot more details than you would normally have. And at a event that they're at, they can actually speak to some level of detail and a strong background and tell people, well, actually, this is what's going on this project. Another important benefit to podcast is it's more flexible. If you do an interview with the media, you have to hope that people are listening or watching that broadcast at that time. But with a podcast, it's something that somebody can download and they can listen anytime they want. So we work with a consultant, and they help us kind of go from A to Z on the podcast process. And it really starts with topics. And once we have, about 3 to 4 topics figured out, then we loosely script the podcast. So after you get the topic, then the producer goes and finds the guests to match the topic. Also, we have a little news segment at the beginning of every podcast. So we figure out, well, what's the news we want to tell? What's the update on a project or projects that we want to tell?
But first, let's start with a quick update about a project up in northern Idaho. Today, we're talking about State Highway 41. Work has been underway since 2020.
Then we generally have an interview segment, or maybe 2, depending. We may have 2 different people. We're flexible. Sometimes those interviews are officials or people here at ITD. Sometimes those interviews are people out in the community or other stakeholders, like I mentioned. Sometimes we talk to business leaders. Sometimes we talk to partners. We've used the Idaho State Police. They've visited us and joined our podcast several times now. We talk with other local partners. Our local municipal planning organization has been a guest on the podcast in the past. We've had our director of our department on. We've had our chief operations officer. So we have a variety of guests to help address our topics. And then after we're done with the guests, we take questions. We offer our listeners an opportunity to email us questions, and then we read those questions live. After the question segment, we do a safety message. Safety is first and foremost here at the Idaho Transportation Department. So every month we have some sort of a safety message And then we end the show. We end the show with just a standard, here's where you can learn more about us. We give our website, we give all of our social media channels. We recently did the costing for the equipment, and really to do this right, you don't need more than probably $1,000 worth of equipment. You can get a couple of mics, some sort of a digital audio recorder. Cell phones these days are even good enough, a couple of mic stands, and it's really an inexpensive endeavor on the equipment side. We probably spend about 20 to 25 hours a month on the podcast between everybody's time. And that includes our audio operator who records the podcast, but also does the editing. The production time up front is putting the script together, setting up all the interviews, pulling all the different pieces of the podcast together, which includes the news portion up front, the safety message, along with the questions from listeners. And then there's also obviously my time. I'm the host, so I spend my time during the actual podcast. That's it takes us about, probably 1 to 2 hours to record an episode. And then I am quality assurance, so I listen to it. I make sure everything's the way we want it, and then we put it out through the different podcast servers like Lisbon, and it's on iTunes and other places where people can find our Drive Idaho podcast. My biggest tip is make sure you have topics and information that will matter to your stakeholders, to your constituents, to your potential listeners in your state or in your area. Take the time and the effort to make it as quality as possible, because it's a rare long form opportunity to talk to people. And so you need to keep them engaged throughout. We took a different approach that gives people a lot of great information in a 15 to 20 minute period of time. And so far, we've had upwards of 20,000 downloads over the first 3 years. That may not seem like a lot, but if you consider the amount of time we put in with the quality information that we give our listeners, it's definitely worth the benefits. As they say, the juice is definitely worth the squeeze when it comes to the Drive Idaho podcast.